Imagine for a second that you're trying to learn how to swim.
Okay.
But instead of going to like your local community pool, standing in the shallow end, and just practicing blowing bubbles, you refuse to get into the water until you are standing right on the edge of Niagara Falls.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's intense.
Right. And you tell yourself, I can't practice swimming until the environment is absolutely epic. Like, I need the ultimate challenge.
I mean, that just sounds completely ridiculous.
Exactly. You wouldn't learn to swim. You would literally drown.
It's a guaranteed recipe for failure. You're putting maximum environmental pressure on yourself before you've even mastered the basic mechanics.
Yeah.
And yet, metaphorically speaking anyway, that is exactly how the vast majority of us approach learning something new.
Which brings us perfectly to today's deep dive. Welcome, everyone. We are so thrilled to have you with us. Today, we're analyzing a really fascinating transcript from the Easy English podcast.
Yeah, it's a great one.
It is. The text is specifically titled, How to Talk About Your Peaceful Day in English. And our mission today is to, well, extract a highly counterintuitive idea hidden right inside this lesson.
Right, because it's not just about language.
Exactly. We're exploring how slowing down and deliberately focusing on the quiet, mundane, everyday moments of your life isn't just like a nice self-care strategy.
Yeah.
It's actually a secret weapon. A secret weapon for mastering new skills, improving memory retention, and honestly, just becoming a fundamentally better storyteller.
And I think it is crucial to set the stage right up front here. The source material we're diving into is, specifically designed for people learning a new language.
Right.
But the underlying mechanics of how our brains absorb information, they're completely universal.
Absolutely.
Whether you're an overwhelmed learner trying to pick up a new coding language, or maybe trying to master a musical instrument, or just frankly trying to retain complex data for your job in a hyper-distracted world, the psychological barriers to entry are identical.
So to explore those barriers, the text introduces us to a learner named Emma.
Ah, yes, Emma.
Yeah, so Emma works a really demanding Monday to Friday office job.
Mm-hmm.
Every evening she comes home and she hits the books to study English.
Right.
She has a genuine desire to learn, but she has hit this massive cognitive wall. She is just utterly exhausted, and the words just aren't sticking anymore.
And her baseline reality is just the classic modern grind, right?
Absolutely.
Like, she wakes up to a blaring alarm, immediately checks her phone before she even sits up in bed.
Guilty.
Right, we all do it. She triages overflowing emails, rushes through breakfast, and then spends, 8 to 10 hours just staring at a computer screen?
That's brutal.
By the time she sits down to actually study, her brain is essentially a drained battery.
Phone screen, computer screen, TV screen, study screen, rinse and repeat. But her exhaustion isn't just from the screen time.
No, it's not.
She is operating under a massive misconception about what it actually takes to practice a skill. The text points out a core myth, which is the belief that to have a worthwhile conversation in a new language, you need these exciting stories.
Right, like you need to be an adventurer.
Exactly. You need to have traveled to exotic places, met fascinating people, or survived some grand adventure.
Which is just so common.
Okay, let's unpack this, because we treat learning, or honestly, even just sharing a story with a friend like it's an extreme sport.
Yeah.
We act as if you need to, jump out of an airplane just to earn the right to step onto the playing field. We tell ourselves our normal daily lives just aren't interesting enough to warrant discussion.
Wow, yeah.
And by waiting for that grand vacation or the dramatic life event to finally start practicing, we are aggressively gatekeeping our own progress.
What's fascinating here is how this mindset creates an impossible psychological barrier. I mean, if you wait for extraordinary moments to deploy a skill, you guarantee that you will rarely, if ever, actually practice it.
Because extraordinary moments are rare by definition.
Exactly. But there's a deeper physiological issue happening with Emma, too. The constant rushing and the screen fatigue actively block cognitive absorption.
Okay, how so?
Well, we have to look at the neuroscience of burnout. When your nervous system is in a constant state of low-grade fight or flight, triggered by sudden alarms, stressful commutes, endless inbox notifications, your body is just pumping cortisol.
Right.
And high levels of cortisol severely impair the hippocampus, which is, the part of the brain responsible for forming new memories.
So you physically cannot absorb the nuance of a new language or any complex info when your brain thinks it needs to be scanning the horizon for a predator.
Yes. You are in survival mode, not learning mode. You're trying to build a delicate house of cards on a table that is constantly shaking.
That's such a good way to put it. So Emma is mentally exhausted by this whole cycle of high expectations and high stress, and she reaches a breaking point on a Friday evening.
I think we've all been there.
Totally. She's sitting on her sofa, and she realizes she has spent the entire week just processing urgent inputs and staring at glowing rectangles.
Right.
So she makes a deliberate, radical choice to break the pattern. She decides to orchestrate one completely peaceful, slow day.
And this Saturday shift is where we move from the problem into the underlying principles of microlearning.
Yeah, she designs a morning explicitly meant to lower that cortisol level. She wakes up naturally without an alarm. She ignores her phone.
Massive step.
Huge.
Yeah.
She opens the curtains, lets the fresh air in, makes a warm cup of tea, and simply sits by the window watching people walk their dogs.
She is shifting out of the extraordinary trap and tuning into her immediate environment.
Exactly.
She's taking control of her internal state. By deliberately removing all that digital noise, she forces her brain out of that defensive survival state and into a highly receptive state.
Right.
She basically creates the physiological conditions required for neuroplasticity.
And during this quiet window, she picks up a book mentioned in the text. It's called The Little Book of Hygge by Mick Wicking.
Oh, Hag, yeah.
For those unfamiliar, Hygge is the Danish concept of cozy contentment. The philosophy argues that deep satisfaction doesn't come from massive achievements or, expensive vacations. It comes from deeply experiencing simple things.
Like lighting a candle.
Exactly. Or the feeling of warm mug on a rainy afternoon.
And Emma realizes she has been waiting for these massive cinematic moments to feel worthy of practicing her English. She's been completely overlooking the fact that the ordinary moments are universally relatable and, more importantly, they are accessible immediately.
So she applies this Hygge philosophy directly to her study habits. And the text describes this massive shift in her approach.
Okay.
Instead of trying to cram 3 chapters of reading into her morning, she opens short stories in English for beginners and reads one single story.
Just one.
Just one, slowly. Then she opens her vocabulary workbook, and instead of trying to memorize a list of 50 words, she chooses exactly 5.
Wait, just 5?
Just 5 new words. And she creates sentences strictly about her immediate real-world morning. Sentences like, "The weather is pleasant," or "I feel relaxed today."
Yeah.
But I have to jump in and play devil's advocate here, because as a learner, this triggers major anxiety for me.
Really? How come?
Just 5 words. I mean, if I need a vocabulary of 10,000 words to become fluent in a language, or if I need to master hundreds of functions in a new coding language, learning 5 things a day feels painfully slow.
I can see that.
At that pace, it feels like I'm guaranteeing I will be a beginner forever. Doesn't this Hygge method just encourage complacency?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the math of traditional cramming is actually an illusion.
An illusion.
Yeah, it comes down to the science of relevance and cognitive load. Think about the standard method. We try to force 50 random vocabulary words into our short-term memory through sheer repetition and flashcards.
Right, you just drill them.
But human memory is associative. If you try to memorize a list of disjointed words like apple, train, democracy, blue, the brain discards the vast majority of it within hours.
Because it doesn't mean anything.
Exactly. The data lacks semantic network. It has no context to latch onto.
It's just random data floating in a void.
But look at what Emma is doing. We can call it contextual anchoring. She is taking those 5 specific words and anchoring them directly to her immediate real-world emotional state.
Oh, interesting.
She is physically feeling a sense of cozy relaxation in her apartment, looking at a pleasant morning out her window. When she attaches the new vocabulary word, pleasant, to the actual lived feeling of pleasantness in her body, the brain wires that connection instantly.
Wow.
Because the context is rich, emotional, and highly relevant to her present reality, the retention rate skyrockets. Quality of context dramatically outperforms the sheer volume of flashcards.
That makes so much sense. It's the difference between trying to memorize the dictionary definition of the word blizzard while sitting in a warm classroom versus actually stepping out into a snowstorm and feeling the freezing wind hit your face while someone teaches you the word.
Yes, exactly.
Your body remembers the blizzard. The dictionary definition fades, but the physical experience creates a permanent anchor.
And by limiting herself to just 5 words, she protects her cognitive bandwidth. She isn't overwhelming her working memory, which means she actually has the processing power to observe how the grammar works, how the syntax flows, and how the words feel to say out loud.
So she trades the illusion of fast progress for actual permanent mastery.
Precisely.
Now, we know this microdosing of information works beautifully in a controlled environment like a quiet apartment. But languages, and really any skills, are meant to be used in the unpredictable real world.
Right.
How do you maintain that low cognitive load when you step outside the Higgs bubble?
Yeah.
Well, Emma decides to test this. She takes her newfound calm out into her neighborhood for an afternoon trip to the park.
Okay.
And there is a very specific, deliberate choice she makes before walking out the door.
She leaves her headphones behind.
Yes. And honestly, this struck me as the most difficult step in the entire story.
Oh, absolutely.
We use headphones as a shield. When we're stressed or overwhelmed, we plug our ears to block out the unpredictable noise of the world. Taking them off is a vulnerable shift. Emma is moving from actively blocking her environment to actively perceiving it.
And the text highlights a profound realization she has while sitting on a park bench. She's just observing the breeze, listening to children laughing, watching a small stream.
Yeah.
And she realizes peace isn't something we find, it's something we notice.
That reframes the entire concept of relaxation.
That really does.
We treat peace like a geographic destination, like we think it's a beach in Bali or a secluded cabin in the woods. But it's actually a mode of perception. It's an active state of observation that you can switch on anywhere, even on a municipal park bench.
And in the context of learning, that active state of observation is the ultimate receptive mode. In linguistics, there is a concept known as the affective filter.
The affective filter.
Yeah. When a learner is anxious, self-conscious, or stressed, this invisible psychological filter goes up, and it actively prevents comprehensive input from being processed.
Wow.
By noticing the peace around her, Emma is forcefully lowering her affective filter.
So sitting on that bench with her filter lowered, she engages in incredibly low-stakes practice. She listens to a short audio lesson and just repeats the sentences quietly to herself.
No pressure.
Exactly. She isn't performing for a grade. She isn't worried about perfect grammar. She's just speaking into the open air. But the real-world test happens on her walk home.
Okay, what happens?
She stops at a local cafe to grab a coffee. The barista smiles at her and simply says, "Beautiful day, isn't it?"
A classic small talk moment.
Right. And Emma replies with genuine confidence, "Yes, it's wonderful. I decided to spend today enjoying the simple things." The barista agrees, and that's the end of the interaction.
That's it.
Here's where it gets really interesting, because objectively, this interaction is incredibly short. It lasts maybe 15 seconds. But for Emma, the confidence boost is monumental.
I can imagine.
It reminds me of the life of a stage actor. Imagine you are an actor, and you've been rehearsing a complex monologue alone in your living room for 6 months.
Right.
You know the words backwards and forwards, but in that isolated room, the words feel empty. There's no energy. Then finally, you step onto an actual stage with real lights, looking at a real audience, and you deliver just one line.
Yeah, that changes everything.
Just hitting that one mark, connecting with a real human being in real time, validates all the quiet and visible work you did behind the scenes. It's a tiny moment, but it completely rewires your belief in your own competence.
And you know, the brevity of the interaction is exactly why it was successful. She didn't try to impress the barista with a complex, rehearsed speech about her life goals.
Right.
Notice what happens when you remove the pressure to be perfect. The text points out that her pronunciation smoothed out effortlessly.
Why does that happen?
Well, when we try to force fluency while stressed, the physical muscles in our jaw and vocal cords literally tense up. We stumble.
Oh, that makes sense.
By shifting from the stressed, passive consumption of a textbook to relaxed, active participation in her actual life, the learning integrated seamlessly. She didn't have to pause and translate in her head. She simply responded to an environment she was already deeply connected to.
She wasn't digging through her mental archives for the perfect vocabulary word. She was just agreeing that the day was beautiful. She was completely present.
And she has proven the model works in isolation, and she's proven it works in a brief, low-stakes encounter with a stranger.
Yeah.
But the ultimate test of this ordinary approach is the arena where the extraordinary trap usually dominates, a group setting where she is expected to perform.
Yes. So the following week, Emma is sitting in her evening English class.
Okay.
The teacher gives the room a prompt, asking the students, "Can anyone describe a peaceful day?"
Uh-oh.
Exactly. Immediately, the trap springs shut. The other students start boasting. They launch into stories about dramatic beach holidays, sweeping mountain climbing trips, and grand, expensive vacations.
They're trying to show off?
They are frantically digging for the most impressive, complex vocabulary they can muster.
Because they're operating under the assumption that the value of their language skills and the value of their personal story is entirely dependent on the prestige of the event they are describing.
Right.
It is basically an arms race of interestingness.
Well, Emma raises her hand, and instead of joining the arms race, she simply describes her quiet Saturday.
Oh, I love this.
She talks about waking up to the sun, making a warm cup of tea, noticing the dogs in the park, reading her book, and having that 15-second chat at the cafe.
Just the truth.
Just the truth. She uses the simple vocabulary she anchored to her emotions. She tells the truth about a completely ordinary day, and the room falls dead silent.
Wow.
Everyone is actively listening. When she finishes, the teacher smiles and says, "That wasn't just good English, it was a beautiful story."
That is so powerful.
So what does this all mean? I really want to drill down into the psychology of that classroom. Why was a room full of people who were just moments ago trying to outdo each other with adrenaline-fueled mountain climbing stories suddenly so captivated by a story where absolutely nothing exciting happened?
This raises an important question about the fundamental purpose of communication.
Okay.
Why do we bother telling stories in the first place, whether in our native tongue or a new one? We do it to build human connection.
Right.
And in the pursuit of connection, authenticity always wins over spectacle. A checklist of exotic tourist destinations is actually quite alienating.
Because it's hard to relate to.
Exactly. Unless the listener has also been to that specific mountain peak or that specific luxury resort, they cannot relate to the experience. It doesn't invite them in. It just serves as a status update.
It's the verbal equivalent of scrolling through an influencer's heavily filtered social media feed.
Yes.
It looks shiny, but it doesn't make you feel anything. It pushes you away.
But universal, simple pleasures create an immediate, visceral, emotional resonance. Everyone in that classroom has felt the desperate relief of a quiet morning after a stressful week.
Oh, absolutely.
Everyone knows the physical sensation of a warm cup of coffee in their hands. Everyone has felt the breeze on their face.
Yeah.
Emma's story bypassed the superficial need to impress the room and went straight to the core of a shared human experience.
And from that, she realizes she never needs to search for the perfect topic again, because her own daily life is already overflowing with stories.
Exactly.
She turns this insight into a daily framework. Let's call it microfluency. Every evening, instead of exhausting herself with heavy textbooks, she spends just 5 minutes speaking out loud about her ordinary day.
Just 5 minutes.
The meal she prepared, the subtle changes in the weather, a single thought she had while reading a book.
Because practicing the vocabulary of your actual daily routine is infinitely more useful for long-term retention than learning the niche vocabulary required to, I don't know, rent a jet ski on a tropical vacation.
That is so true.
You navigate your kitchen, your commute, and your quiet thoughts every single day. You only rent the jet ski once a decade. But we heavily prioritize the vocabulary of the rare over the vocabulary of the daily.
And that misalignment is exactly why we freeze up in real conversations. We know how to ask for directions to the Eiffel Tower, but we don't know how to explain that we're feeling a little overwhelmed on a Tuesday morning.
Exactly. Emma's daily 5-minute habit builds an unshakable foundation because it is anchored in reality.
Right.
Every time she articulates a normal experience, she is reinforcing the neural pathways with familiar context, while simultaneously reminding herself that her daily life has inherent value.
Let's bring all of these concepts together for you, the listener. If you are feeling completely overwhelmed by whatever it is you are trying to learn right now, whether you are tackling a new language, wrestling with a complex software program, or just trying to absorb the dense reading material required for your career, remember the mechanics of Emma's Saturday.
It's so important.
True mastery of a subject does not require grand adventures. And it certainly does not require crushing, burnout-inducing workloads.
No, it doesn't.
Pushing yourself into a state of chronic stress actively shuts down your brain's ability to retain information.
Your everyday experiences are the optimal practice ground. They provide the perfect low-stakes environment to test new skills.
Yeah.
Because these moments are deeply personal and meaningful, and because you are physiologically relaxed, your affective filter is lowered, your brain is open, making the information stick faster and longer than any forced memorization drill.
Every small concept you grasp in a moment of quiet observation, every simple sentence you construct about your real life builds an undeniable foundation of confidence. The ordinary, mundane moments aren't a distraction from your learning. They are the strongest building blocks for lasting fluency.
Truly.
So we want to issue a direct challenge to you. Think about the single most peaceful moment you experienced in the last week. Just scan back over the last few days.
Just one moment.
Was it eating breakfast in silence before the house woke up? Was it taking a quick walk to the mailbox and noticing the temperature drop? Maybe it was just watching the rain hit the window glass for 2 minutes between meetings.
Any of those work.
Whatever that specific moment was, try describing it using the new skill you are learning. If you're learning a language, describe the rain in that language. If you're learning to write code, think about how you would structure the logic of that simple routine.
Keep it simple.
Don't worry about complexity. Just focus on articulating the simple truth of the moment.
And to leave you with one final thought to mull over as we wrap up our analysis today, we expend an unbelievable amount of energy stressing over how to communicate our big, impressive achievements to the world.
Oh, absolutely.
We curate our highlight reels. But if we spend our entire lives holding our breath, waiting for those rare, extraordinary experiences just so we can finally feel like we have a story worth sharing, are we actually losing our fluency in experiencing the everyday life that makes up 99% of our existence?
Wow. If you lose the ability to describe the simple things, you miss out on almost your entire life. You do not need to summit Mount Everest to prove that you know how to walk.
Exactly.
Sometimes the most radical breakthrough you can make is just taking a quiet stroll through the park, leaving your headphones at home, and finally noticing the world around you. Thanks for diving deep with us today. We will catch you on the next one.